Hey friends, so sorry for the technical difficulties we have had with this AmeriCorps orientation. It has been a little bit of a hot mess, but I'm hoping that this will work for us. So essentially, I'm going to record what we would have shared in those live virtual trainings, and then offer a quick assessment to make sure, just check for understanding, make sure you have what you need to be able to become an AmeriCorps member. So we'll just dive right in. And I'll also include in my email to you all a little bit more information just about the timing of taking the assessment and all that. So essentially, this AmeriCorps orientation is to help you understand what exactly AmeriCorps is, and there's a little bit of a distinguishing there between AmeriCorps and Teach for America, what the benefits are of being an AmeriCorps member, which I know are really important to you all, and expectations and responsibilities that go with that, and where you can find more information. So we'll get going on that. We just want to provide you some context for the program and a little bit of history. So AmeriCorps is a federal national service program that puts millions of Americans into service, directly impacting communities around the country each year. It's a part of a long history of national service, starting with FDR's Civilian Conservation Corps in the 30s, continuing on through President Bush's Points of Light initiative, and then ultimately the founding of the Corporation for National and Community Service, which is called CNCS, under President Clinton, is the beginning of AmeriCorps, so in the 90s. AmeriCorps was officially founded in '94 as a program of CNCS, which you'll note that that was right after the founding of Teach for America, so they really have gone hand in hand since the very beginning. We have been working together since their founding, and the very first AmeriCorps grant funded the Houston Institute, which many Eastern North Carolina Corps members would go on to attend as their institute long before we ever had residency. Teach for America currently receives funding and support from AmeriCorps, meaning that the majority of you all as our Corps members will enroll as a part of the AmeriCorps program and receive benefits we'll talk about. We also receive operating funds from AmeriCorps, so it's important to acknowledge that it's not just those individual benefits, but a benefit to all of us. So even if you've already done AmeriCorps service and you can't receive those education awards, you are still ultimately benefiting from our partnership with AmeriCorps. So the Corporation for National and Community Service is a federal agency that oversees AmeriCorps, as well as other programs such as AmeriCorps Vista, which our teammate Kate Brown was a part of Vista, as well as and other programs like the Senior Corps. It is a federal program funded by taxpayer dollars and operates with its own rules and regulations, which are written into law. We're going to talk about some of those rules and regulations in a bit, but I want to double down on the fact that it is a federal program funded by taxpayer dollars. And so when we share deadlines about AmeriCorps, they are not Elizabeth Oakland's deadlines. They are not your coach's deadlines. They are the deadlines that are written into law, and we have to meet them in order to be compliant across the organization so that we don't put these benefits in jeopardy for all of Teach for America. I'm going to share a video with you along with this email. I was hoping to include it in the recording, but I could not figure out how to make sure y'all could hear the audio. So I will, at this point in the training, point to that AmeriCorps members get things done. You're welcome to pause my recording and watch that video, or just watch it later. But ultimately, it's a sharing about how AmeriCorps members work across the country, and the fact that you're not only helping kids and communities, but you're also having the opportunity to develop your own skills and experiences to support your future and access financial benefits. So it's very much intended to be a mutually beneficial opportunity, so that we're impacting our kids and communities and you all as our Corps members. So that the video will illustrate that more. AmeriCorps is a major player in the national education landscape. So about 75% of its funds, as shown here, are invested in education programs. And many of those work across the country alongside Teach for America. This is rarely our experience in rural Eastern North Carolina, but it is worth pointing out that you'll have friends and Corps member colleagues across the country who they might teach a student who is also benefiting from an after-school program that's run by City Year. And I know some of you in this Corps have done City Year previously, which is an AmeriCorps program. And then there's some additional programming within their school that's hosted by Playworks, or they have a reading partner. So all of these programs providing comprehensive, holistic supports for our kids and communities. You provide primary instruction, of course. That is like the role that you would play as Teach for America. And so we highly value that partnership, not only for the financial support, but really because of those partnerships. You know, we talk about building broad and diverse coalitions. This is one of the diverse coalitions that we are a part of, honestly, because so many people engage through AmeriCorps and come in at so many different points. Yeah. So want you to have a moment to just read over this AmeriCorps pledge so that you know what you are committing to as part of the Corps. I will give voice to it now, but hope that you'll have a chance to read it as I'll read along. I will get things done for America to make our people safer, smarter, and healthier. I will bring Americans together to strengthen our communities. Faced with apathy, I will take action. Faced with conflict, I will seek common ground. Faced with adversity, I will persevere. I will carry this commitment with me this year and beyond. I am an AmeriCorps member and I will get things done. We hope that you're excited about that commitment. Great. So given the importance of Teach for America and AmeriCorps' relationship, it is important that both staff and Corps members are good partners and abide by AmeriCorps' requirements. So want to kind of articulate some of that now. We're going to quickly review what these benefits are and then cover the requirements to learn them in detail so that you're prepared to meet them. You essentially receive 3 financial benefits: an education award, loan forbearance, and interest accrual payment. Loan forbearance is available to you during your AmeriCorps service term, which, while you are a part of Teach for America from June of 2018 until May of 2020. Oh my gosh. So while you're with us for that whole period of time, your terms will be September to June. So September of 2018 to June of 2019, and then September of 2019 to June of 2020. So while you're in that service term, you are allowed to suspend payment on eligible loans, and though your loans will continue to accrue interest. One note I will share there is that I talked about those 2 terms, September to June each. Many of your loan companies also will provide you with loan forbearance during the other times. And we can talk about, I can provide a letter for you that essentially says you will be enrolled in AmeriCorps and you are a teacher in a low income space, and you're, you won't receive your salary until a month into working and all these things, and many of them are willing to work with you. So it's really smart to just reach out to your loan companies early and often to make sure that you are set up with them. So if you successfully complete your AmeriCorps service term each year, then you'll be able to access separate funds to repay that accrued interest through the interest accrual payment benefit. So basically you will accrue the interest while you're in loan forbearance, but then at the end of the term, once you're exited for that year, you'll be able to send some documentation and they will release the accrual essentially, and you won't owe that interest. And then of course the big deal for a lot of people is that upon successfully completing your term and being exited from AmeriCorps in the following summer, you'll receive an education award of, for you all, it's $5,920 to pay back qualified loans that you already have or to apply towards future education. So for your licensure costs, you can use this. So as you can probably do the math, that's almost $12,000 if you complete both of your terms. As I mentioned, your AmeriCorps term officially, this just gives you a good visual of how this cycle goes. Officially begins in September and will end on June 30th of next year. You'll have access to the loan forbearance benefit just as soon as you're enrolled. But if you need something before that enrollment in September, you can reach out to me at the encregion@teachforamerica.org email address, and I can provide you that letter. I know a couple of you have already taken me up on that. And then AmeriCorps is a year-long program. So you'll have a gap in your service in between your 2 years for the 2 months of next summer. So we will exit you in June of next summer and we won't re-enroll you until September. So you'll need to plan accordingly. And AmeriCorps grants are awarded annually. So I know like a couple of you will forget this, and this is okay. When I reach out to you about exiting you for AmeriCorps next spring, you're gonna be like, but I'm not done yet. And that's great. I don't want you to be done yet. But we do have to exit you on the 1-year term and then re-enroll you because of their term I do want to highlight that there are tax implications to the use of your AmeriCorps benefits. So in the year that you use them, the IRS will consider that AmeriCorps Education Award and interest accrual payment taxable. So you'll need to plan for that when you're doing your taxes. If the education award and interest payments total more than $600 in a calendar year, CNCS will send you a 1099 form to be used when you're preparing your income tax return. They send that form to the address that is on file for you in My AmeriCorps. So whenever you are doing your enrollment and you put that address in, make sure that it is one where you will be able to receive your mail, because it is a very bureaucratic government system. So make sure that you are updating and taking the initiative to make sure your address is up to date with them. If you ever have questions about this, you can visit the CNCS website, and they have a tax advisor who you can consult with through that program. Teach for America cannot provide you with tax advice. We are legally bound to not provide you with that information. So you can ask, and we should not help you with that particular thing because of the way our partnership is set up. So before we dive into some specifics, I want to make sure you're all grounded in the why there are specific requirements to serve with AmeriCorps. This is about ensuring equity and the safety of the communities that we serve. So programs and participants are intended, we're setting you up to be good stewards of your funding. And so there are a number of requirements that we have to meet through your service term in order for you to receive the benefits we just reviewed. Truly, my tax dollars and your tax dollars and our collective tax dollars provide these benefits. And because of that, CNCS has a significant responsibility to ensure that the funds are being used appropriately, legally, and fairly. Again, this is where I will double down and say AmeriCorps requirements are federal law, which means they're incredibly important and incredibly inflexible. So they're outlined in the member service agreement that you sign before your term begins, and you'll have a chance to look at that paperwork and save it. Just at this point would want to note that non-compliance with these requirements could mean that you are ineligible to receive your education award. So you need to note that for you. So some specific requirements for participating in AmeriCorps and earning your benefits. You must be a citizen, a national or legal permanent resident, and you must meet citizenship requirements. All of you already have your citizenship verification documents on file. We've already done all of that back in the spring, so thank you for taking care of that at that point. AmeriCorps will automatically check your citizenship status and verify your social security number. So if they find, they always find a couple of people where there's like some sort of discrepancy, a number was entered incorrectly or something like that. And so they may reach out to me to reach out to you to provide additional documentation. I will say it always makes me feel funny when I have to reach out to like verify citizenship. And like, I don't feel super comfortable with that ask, because, it feels like a weird thing to be like, no, are you really from here? So I don't like doing that, but it is part of what we need to collectively do in order to make sure our whole organization and our region can all receive those benefits. So note that we might ask for additional documentation at some time. You also have to clear all criminal history checks. So you've already signed your background check authorization form nationally, and we've already run those, and you've all passed. Congratulations. And we're also in the process now of doing the state background checks. So thank you for prioritizing that and getting the forms filled out so that we can be well underway to complete that requirement. You cannot exceed AmeriCorps service term limits. I know a couple of you have reached out about this as well. You're only allowed to serve a lifetime maximum of 4 AmeriCorps terms. And there's a cap for education awards where you can only earn the value of 2 full-time education awards. So you're able to check your previous terms of service in your My AmeriCorps account. And if you have questions, certainly reach out to that help desk. And the phone number for that help desk will be included in the resources. But just want to acknowledge that it is always tricky because there are 100 of you, and so there are 200 of you at a time in the whole Corps. There's always a handful of people who have done this, and we continuously send you the paperwork because the note doesn't make it into wherever, and so we're sending it. So I apologize on the front end that you'll probably have to remind us a couple of times. I already have finished my AmeriCorps service term. I can't fill out this paperwork. So, but you are welcome to check and make sure that we know how much service term you've already completed. You have to teach through full-time through the last day of school. So yeah, I'm hoping that's your plan anyway. If you are less than full-time or a long-term sub, you're not eligible for AmeriCorps. So this will come into play if you have not yet passed your test and are going to start the school year as not test passed. Some school districts will move forward with your hiring, but they will make an agreement with you to put you on sub-pay. And so we are not able to enroll you in AmeriCorps until you have moved into full-time pay. And so the thing is, we're getting ready to talk about your 1,700 hours of service. You still ultimately are likely to earn your number of hours of service, but we do just want to flag for you that the amount of time that you're on sub-pay, we will not be able to enroll you in AmeriCorps at that time. If you leave the service before the end of the school year or take a leave of absence, including for a medical reason, that will affect your AmeriCorps benefits. And so you should contact me as soon as possible if your full-time teaching status is going to change at any point during the year. Again, if you take a medical leave or if you need to leave before the end of the school year, you know, I think it's important to acknowledge that your teacher workdays are included in your time in your placement school. And so when we're talking about till the end of the year, we are talking to finish out your responsibilities, not just till your last day of teaching. You must earn that 1,700 hours of service. While most AmeriCorps programs require their members to keep timesheets, AmeriCorps has given us special permission to use a different method because you work significantly more than 1,700 hours in your teaching year. And so we have a different process in place, but you earn a set number of hours for the service term, and that takes into account the ebb and flow of work, like busy seasons in the school year, vacation, you'll have your sick time. You don't have to log that sick time. And then let's see, we know you work a lot of hours, probably more than 1,700. If you serve until the last day of school, you will receive exactly 1,700 hours for AmeriCorps. Okay, let's see. Okay, you must complete all required AmeriCorps paperwork and documentation by established deadlines. This is the one I mentioned earlier. These deadlines are set by AmeriCorps. They're not set by Teach for America or Elizabeth O'Quinn. So you really got to pay attention when we put those announcements about AmeriCorps in the Corps Member Blast, when you start to receive one-off email follow-ups from me or the ENC region inbox or whoever else might be helping with AmeriCorps at that time. You've got to complete your paperwork on time. So please prioritize that over the course of the year. It's also usually not a large task. It's like a 5 to 10 minute task. So when I reach out to you about the survey, I'm asking you for 30 minutes. But when I reach out to you for this, I'm asking you for 5. So prioritize getting that done and off your plate as quickly as possible. Onboarding and enrollment paperwork must be completed the summer before your AmeriCorps term starts. So we're well on our way to having that done. The background check, I believe, is the last step. And so we'll reach out to you later in the fall with enrollment work. There is paperwork due at the mid-year mark. And so we'll reach out to you about that right around the time of the mid-year survey. So those reminders usually come all together, and it's are we on track to meet our expectations? You and your coach, it is like a tool for you and your coach to have a conversation if things need to be talked about at that point in terms of your AmeriCorps membership and you meeting the expectations. And so that will be a point to kind of process check. And there may be different additional requirements or changed rules during the year. Again, it's a federal program, so there are expectations that are set by the government that then trickle down. And so please just pay attention to emails that are related to that and follow the instructions. This is like our way of providing evidence that you've done what you needed to do and met your requirements in order to receive your benefits. So please just respond when we ask for you to do your paperwork. Another AmeriCorps requirement is that you abide by all other policies as set forth in your AmeriCorps member service agreement, including the non-discrimination and non-harassment and grievance procedures. Promoting AmeriCorps identity is important to raise awareness of the program and Teach for America's partnership with it. So this is our chance to abide by all of those policies. During your AmeriCorps service, you must refrain from engaging in prohibited activities. This list of activities exists to ensure that federal dollars are not misused. Federal law prohibits you from conducting any of these activities while serving as Teach for America Corps member and while on AmeriCorps time. At any time that you are acting or representing yourself as a Teach for America Corps member counts as AmeriCorps time. This includes time teaching, lesson planning, grading, or participating in professional development, whether through TFA, your school, or university partner. We'll go through the list of prohibited activities. They're going to be included in this deck, so I'm not going to go into them in detail, but they're also on the CNCS website. And you are able to participate in them on your own time. Just keep in mind that since we don't keep timesheets, it's really hard for us to differentiate between TFA and non-TFA time. So you need to make sure you're not representing yourself as a Teach for America Corps member if you're engaging in these activities as a private citizen. So don't wear gear with the AmeriCorps logo or Teach for America. And ultimately, perception matters. If it can be perceived that you're conducting any of this as a Teach for America member, you should refrain from participating. So I'm going to give you just 1 minute to kind of read through this quickly. You don't have to memorize this. You just need to remember the main types of activities that you cannot participate in. You must be mindful of your actions at all times to ensure that you're not violating any of these prohibited activities. Engaging could result in release from AmeriCorps service and loss of AmeriCorps benefits. So just be mindful and feel free to reach out along the way. There are some specific situations that further illustrate the nuances of prohibited activities. In the first example, note that it's not allowable for you to talk about your experience as a Teach for America Corps member in order to educate others about our program or your school. It's a fine line between sharing information and lobbying. So, you know, like if you are talking to a representative that we bring, you've got to be careful about lobbying for Teach for America in that space. And, you know, we did that with the residency visit in Kinston not that long ago. In those settings, I would like let the alumni who are no longer AmeriCorps members, they are welcome to lobby. And so they're the ones who can tell our story, and you will be an alum at some point soon. The second example here represents Corps members protesting, which is always unallowable on AmeriCorps time, but the prohibited activities do not extend to your students who are allowed to exercise their individual rights and protest. Just remember that you are not allowed to require them or encourage them to do so. So if they're walking out, that is fine. You can let them walk out of your classroom, certainly, but you should not be the one organizing the walkout. We often get a lot of questions from Corps members about prohibited activities in social media. The biggest question is posting about my political beliefs prohibited. And we talked about this some back during induction specific to Teach for America and learning about your district. But the answer is like, if it's on your own time, so not while you're at school, not while you're at a Teach for America PD, after work, and as long as you're not explicitly identifying yourself as Teach for America, then it's fine. You're welcome to say you're part of Teach for America and then later talk about your political beliefs. One way that I do this myself is like on my Twitter handle, I have in the bio, opinions are mine, all mine. Like they are not the opinions of Teach for America. So I certainly think that you can lay that out as well. There are also some other tips here that you can read through. We also receive a lot of questions about in-person activism and prohibited activities. In the past year, there have been a number of social and political movements based in schools, so this is top of mind for our Corps members. And it's just about AmeriCorps time. When it does come up, and it has come up in North Carolina, we send out additional guidance about how to navigate that. For example, this past year, there was a walkout in schools that was planned well in advance. And the guidance was, you are welcome to participate. You must take a personal day. So it cannot, even if your school district closes, you still have to take a personal day in order to participate in the walkout. And we had plenty of people engaged that way. It was on their own time. So that was their choice. And then they can't wear their Teach for America gear. If you ever have any questions or concerns about that, you are welcome to reach out directly to Andrew or to me before engaging, and we can give you some more context. There's some additional resources. This checklist, I'm including the deck for you in my email. So just want to make sure you see, like, it's important for you to complete these requirements, and you're already doing a great job at this. I will tell y'all, your Corps is like so on top of your game so regularly. Like 60% of you have done the action item before I even go to do the check. So I really appreciate that and hope it sticks. this can kind of walk through where we are at this point. But if you have any additional questions along the way, I do hope you'll reach out, and I'm excited for you all to begin this part of your Teach for America journey with AmeriCorps. Thanks again for engaging in this way, and look forward to connecting with you all if you have any additional questions and around completing your assessment. So thanks so much.